All right, so welcome back to the channel. So it is Saturday afternoon. I don't know when you are going to see this video. We did not make it to Darlington, as you've seen. So somehow I slept for, I think, like 3 hours. Well, first off, when I left the shop up there the other night, I had already edited down the video for y'all, and then I did the last touches of the edit on the way home at like 4 o'clock in the morning for y'all. I had that video out for y'all by like 5:30, I think it was. I got out of the shower around like 5:30. Then I laid down, let it finish getting uploaded, slept for about 3 hours, got up at 8:30, I think it was, and edited another video for y'all. I had that one premiered by 10 a.m. So I'm actually not dragging that bad today, surprisingly. I thought I'd be dragging a lot better. I'm just kind of powering through it. But it's about 6 o'clock now, Saturday afternoon, and I'm feeling it. I'm ready to tap out. I'm ready to go get in my bed and mix up a drink with the wife, eat some cake, and call it a wrap. But I've been working out here on the car, still pounding through it, even though I feel dead. I kind of want to show y'all what I got, and I'm no expert at any of this, but I kind of wanted to show people how I do it, because there are some people that comment sometimes and they're like, they thank me for showing them my way, when I'm surprised that, like, I'm like, why would anybody use my way? Like, a lot of times my way is not the best way on a lot of stuff. So this is going to be the wiring. This is going to be basic. This is actually the body part of the wiring, the lights and everything on the front. So just real basic. I'm not going to tell you how to wire or teach you how to wire. I'm just going to show you how I do it real fast and point out a couple things, and then we're going to move on. This is not a tutorial because I'm not a wiring expert. So I'm not a lot of people will measure point A to point B, lay it out on a bench, point A, point B, wire it up. I don't like that. It always seems like when it comes from the bench to the car, something's wrong, something's short, something's messed up. So I like to lay mine out on the car. So I know that, you know, my headlights go here. Headlights go here, and I know I have a pigtail that will go to about right here. So I've come down here and just gave myself tons of pigtail. I'd rather have extra, you know, where I can just loop it, you put a zip tie through it or something, than not have enough. And also, I like to be able to take stuff apart and then unplug and not have, you know, real tight wiring like some people like. It's just me. I don't like real tight wiring. I'd rather kind of have a little bit of slack and, you know, pull it up to out of the way or something. So I've got a marking light down here, headlight here. All I do is wrap some tape around, and I'd already made this harness up at one point, but I kind of run my wires, wrap some tape around to hold it, gave myself 6 inches in both of these areas because I know it'll work. And then I just start running my wires, okay? And then what I'm doing is putting painter's tape around them, because, you know, you'll run this wire and then you'll be like, crap, I need another wire. So then you can just simply run your next wire, put a little painter's tape around it, or if you need to undo it, you undo your painter's tape and do that. And that allows you to kind of lay everything out and tape it through two things where it goes, and undo it and change it and everything before, you know, you lift it off the car. So all I've got done is, you know, there's your headlight, running light. And then if you come up here, I've got this bunch of, you know, wires. I know this is going to be a plug. Some of these are going to get terminated together before they, you know, like these are twisted. That tells me they go together. These are taped together. These grounds go together. And then I think this is actually ground 2 that I'll look at. This is going to go, you know, together also. That's going to be like your turn signal, running lights, ground, you know, and that harness goes over to the other side of the car. Now, this is the original wiring from the Comet. So this is one of the only pieces left on the car that me and my wife agreed that we kind of wanted to keep, but now I'm contemplating on changing it. So these are the original housings from 74. They haven't been modified, haven't been cleaned up, haven't been painted or nothing. This is the original wiring from 74, and when I originally had wired this is, you know, what I used. You can see right here, I used these connectors and simply reused the original wiring, because when I first built this car 2 years ago, I was trying to basically reuse a lot of the factory plugs. Surprisingly, I've learned a lot and came really far. But back then, they used to simply do their grounds, you know, to the nearest point. And the first time I wired all this harness up here, that's basically what I did. I had like ground here, ground there, ground there, ground there. I didn't have a whole entire ground wire ran. So this time, I'm running a whole entire ground wire all the way around. But the plans for right now is to snip off the end of the original plug and put one of these weather pack plugs on there. So I really hate doing these. I absolutely hate these more than anything in the world, is doing these plugs, but I'm going to try to keep this semi-professional. So we're going to put some weather pack plugs on the parking lights. That way you can unplug them right there so that the grill can come out, because these are screwed into the grill. So you need to be able to unplug them right there to take the grill off the car. And then we've already got the running light was already attached. I used the original, actually, pigtail because it's in amazing shape. And the headlights down here have already been redone. So what that will allow is you can unplug the headlight, undo the parking light, pull the fender off, or the marker, pull the fender off, leave the harness on the upper tube support, take the grill off. And if you want to take the tube off, you'll be able to leave the wiring harness on the tube. So I'll have it zip tied up real nice and neat to that tube once we paint all that at tube front end, and you'll be able to lift the tube structure off with the harness still attached to it and never have to undo the harness off of that. So then I've ran my wires over here and, you know, just taped them up along the way, kind of roughly laid them out. They're going to run underneath there. And then done the same thing when you get right here. Just basically, I know that I have a plug right here. That's going to be, this bunch of wires is going to be a plug, because this right here, your parking light, will turn around and plug into this plug right here. So then of course that's your headlight, and then you have a parking light dangling over there. And then I've just laid the wires out where they will reach the firewall. They'll go to the firewall right there with plenty of connectors, and then we're going to put plenty of length, and then we're going to put a connector on the end of that so that that plugs into the firewall. But that's how I do mine with painter's tape. So for the plug that plugs into the actual car, we're going to install this. It's another connector that I bought. I think it's like TRZ makes it, I think, or something. And that will go into the firewall up there. And then this will be the plug that we wire into the actual front end of the car, so that it will just clip in and plug in. And it's got all of them stupid barrel connectors and everything that has to be crimped on. So really not looking forward to that, but probably gonna mess with that some tomorrow. Yeah, Harper? Harper, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hey. What did you do? I don't think you belong in the toolbox, do you? All right, so man, I have struggled with this crap. I'm using these eBay Weather Pack connectors, and they're not terrible. Okay, if you were going to use them on anything important, I would not recommend them. For something like just your lights, you know, an easy to get to harness, and easy to take out, put back on the bench harness. If you want to save a couple bucks, they're okay. I don't think I'll be buying any more of these, just because I hate wiring that much. So if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it with the other gray and orange nice connectors. And I think they're called Deutsch. So y'all know I can't do these these high-tech, high-class words. Anyway, I'm the cheap eBay guy. So, but if I'm going to do this, I might as well do this right. So, I mean, these, you know, the only problem I'm having is just the connectors going in them perfect and staying in them. The first one fell out, but the two that I did, the second one I did, and the third one I did right here, they worked amazing, and they're in there nice and strong. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not against them. I just really hate wiring, so I feel like if I'm going to force myself to do it, then I might as well, you know, spend the money and buy the little bit nicer connectors. But this works perfect. All these are is running lights and turn signals right here. So if they don't work or they mess up, it's not the end of the world. You can unplug this, put it on the bench, and if I ever have problems, I'm going back and doing it with the nice connectors. Number two, these. I absolutely love these things. You throw heat to them. They got soldered on the inside of them. Solder melts, no crimping required. I haven't had any problems with them from the stuff that I have done. You know, they have been on here for a little while. The car hasn't seen no miles, but it has seen a little bit of age sitting in the garage, and everything is still nice. Problem is that the yellow ones, when you get the bigger ones, they completely are a pain in the butt to melt. Basically, the covering, the heat shrink melts before the solder melts. And it's an absolute nightmare. So I was trying to do the blue ones. A lot of them work amazing. The red ones work really good, I think, because there's less solder in them. But I'm still having issues. So you can barely see it. I actually switched to the good old Turbo John style connectors, which I absolutely hate these more than anything because it seems like I can never get it to stay. Like I can't never crimp it hard enough or get it to stay where the wires don't come out. But I'm using I was doing like 3 grounds into 1. So it worked good on that one. I got frustrated with the other ones. It's just a combination of I hate all of this stuff. But that was a good, I did the tug test and that was a good strong connection on that. I know there's higher end connectors out there. There's tons of them. The problem I don't want to spend the money on the crap, man. I mean, you're talking about headlights and parking lights. I done spent a lot of money on the Holley stuff, but the headlights and parking lights, I just would hate to spend all that money and have, I don't know how much money in it. What is it, $60, $150 between connectors and good grade wiring and all that for a headlight harness? I just can't do it, man. I can't do it. I just can't bring myself to do it. So anyway, this wire loom. So when I first started wiring this car, I went over it. I was using this crap. You know, this stuff's junk. I was proud of myself when I bought that a long time ago, 2 years ago, and I originally did the first wiring job on this car when it was going to be a street car. I had the whole body side done. I was proud of myself. Then I learned that that's garbage and that you should be using this stuff, you know. So I went out and bought all the nice little stuff, bigger stuff, everything. This is a tube, you know, that, you know, it's when you push it, it opens up and then the wires go through it, okay? The problem is when I lay out something like this and I have bridge points, obviously you can't push the tube all the way through there. So you kind of have to think ahead of time and do sections. I'm not cool with that. Not interested in it. Hate that crap also. Like the way that stuff looks, but I hate it. But basically, wherever this bridge point all the way to the plug of the car, that's going to be a straight run. So that stuff right there is not hard to do on that, because you start it in, you push you open it up like that, push your wires into it, and then, you know, wherever it falls, you cut it, put heat shrink on both ends, and it's easy. And you put it on before you put on the plug. I used it on these right here also, you know, because I was putting plugs on. So it's easy just to push it over, heat shrink it, put your plug together, and then heat shrink this in, and then it's encased inside this loom. But when you're dealing with the main section, you know, if you don't think ahead. Now the taillight harness I did back here, the taillight harness is actually done correct. So it's actually all pushed through. There's a little bit of plastic wire loom left, but the taillight harness is done right, and I took the time and somehow a nightmare figured out how to get all of that done with pigtails branching off of every taillight turn signal. It was a lot of undoing wires this way and feeding them together, and I'm not doing that crap. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So I found this. I noticed that when I got the Holley stuff in the other day, they had this stuff on it. So it's the same stuff, but it's split. It's split open. Okay? So it's just like the other stuff, but it wraps around it. Dude, that is the bomb. That's the ticket right there. Screw that crap. I mean, it's nice to have that laying around just in case, but also you can't open that back up to get a wire out of it. You'd have to pull the wire through it. So you can't just peel it open to add a branch in somewhere or something like that. You'd have to cut it. I hate that crap. I'm going to say it again. I hate that crap. So this is the ticket. So I picked this up at Advance because it had it on the shelf. I'm going to order some off of eBay, obviously. But that's what it looks like, basically. This is from Advance. So if you wanted to go to your local parts store and get some, you can. If not, I'm sure you can find it on Amazon or eBay. I'm going to be looking tonight for some on eBay for cheaper than what I paid for this. I think this little bit was like $18 or $22. A little expensive, but I'm sure I can get it way cheaper for bulk on Amazon or eBay. But that's what I'm putting on now. So I'm going to go over everything and put this on a little Tesla tape around the ends of it, because you'd have to put the heat shrink on obviously first. You'd have to push it over, and that goes back to what we just talked about with that. So you can't get the heat shrink on there. Now, if you didn't already had your ends on it, then of course, you know, like you could do that stuff over this. You could do that stuff over this. But in my situation, since I'm reusing factory dirty harnesses or plugs on this, you know, now I could have thought about it and pushed some of that over before I ran that wire, but like I showed you, I like to lay everything out first. So I don't like to be overwhelmed. So we're just going to take some Tesla tape on the ends, wrap it up like that, you know, over the end, so it's a nice clean seal, and we're just going to get this all loomed up using this split loom. And then on this end, like I said, we'll slip this over before we wire our TRZ or whatever it was plug. This is another thing I'm not looking forward to doing. Keep in mind, if you're new to this stuff, most of y'all probably know more than me, but maybe this will help a little guy somewhere, is when you cut this braided stuff, it don't matter if you're using that stuff or the loom stuff, you've got to take a cigarette lighter and throw a little heat to the end of it to keep it from fraying open. That will melt them together and keep this from fraying all open and being a nightmare. Another thing I do is, if I'm doing these little pins like this, a lot of times I'll put these pins on before I put my slip my braided cover over it, this stuff. If you do it before, then it's no big deal, but if you put your pins on first and then you slip the cover on, just so you don't have to fight with the cover back, you know, because you have to hold the cover back while you're working. One thing that I actually do is wrap tape around it so that this end can go through the braided line easier. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this in. Let's see here. I'll probably slip Tessa tape, heat shrink over this and try to heat shrink a big one to this, I'm thinking, just to make sure so it's all black. And then I'll heat shrink this in, yes, I'll put heat shrink over this, slide it back, and then put my plug on, and then slide it back forward, and then put the heat shrink around it. So let's get this plug on. So nobody on YouTube that I was seeing are showing these eBay style weather pack connectors. I don't know if it's just because they're eBay junk and not common or what, but I figured I'd go ahead and show y'all real fast on depinning them. So I just told you what we have to put on it, and then I put the connector together, and then forgot my heat shrink. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just test the tape it and then heat shrink the next one. And I was like, no, let's just go ahead and take time to hopefully depin it, teach myself something new. And see, that stupid rubber thing's done come off of that one. So I have to try to get that one back on, even though it really don't matter in my opinion. It don't matter that it's perfect in my opinion, but whatever. Anyway, so I looked everywhere and I couldn't find any that had, you know, this red piece down in there that would show how to do it, because normally they clip open, like on this side kind of flips open, and then you can like pry the top out because it's like flush here. I don't know, they all just look different. So if you got ones that look like this, okay, this crap, this is what you do, is when you put your pick down in there, I put a pick down in there, and you take the pick in your red thing, you know, you stick it in here, and then you try to pry it out. It'll come up a little, but then it acts like it don't want to come out. So literally, like, I just got pissed off and put a good amount of pressure on it. So I stuck the pick in there like this, up inside, let's see here, up inside there. And then you work the pick like that, you know, you stick it inside of one of these little holes on the edge. You just got to really pry some force. Once that comes out, then you can get inside here, and there is a little spot beside the pin. You can see them right here, right up on this side. So it's on that side that you get your pin in there and you push, and that will relieve these little clips where they can pop out. So absolute pain in the butt in my opinion, but I got it. So I'm gonna fix these little rubber things, reseat them on there correctly, put my heat shrink around it, and then push my pins back in. All right, so I got all that done. So that's that side, that's done, and this side is done. And I use, to do heat shrink on this, like on the headlight harness, I use the Harbor Freight kit. So this is marine heat shrink. That means it's got glue in it. That's waterproof. Whereas, and everything is black. There's no reds. Whereas on my actual other wiring, this is a kit I got off like eBay, and it's got reds and blacks, and it has glue in it. So it looks a little better and it seals up. But this also has glue in it. But I use the Harbor Freight stuff, man, just because it's cheap. You know, so I mean, if you were wiring, I guess your Holly, you'd probably want to use the reds and the blacks and, you know, something better. But this stuff, this Harbor Freight heat shrink with the marine stuff with the glue in it looks really freaking good, especially for areas that don't really matter. So I'm happy with it. I think it looks nice, professional, even though it might not ever make no sense to anybody. And I only had the 4 wires. I didn't have the a 3 one. I didn't take time and actually figure out what I needed, and I had already ordered this, so I have an extra pin location there if I ever needed to add to it, I guess. But see, here's the annoying part. So my main wire is the split loom. So you could come in here, you know, like that, and open it up and add a wire in there. But then all this stupid crap, this extension right here, is the slip-on with heat shrink. So it's good right now as long as I don't have to add nothing. But if I ever have to add something to it, then It's not gonna be fun. I swear, if I had to add something to it, y'all, I would just untape this, run the main wire in there, and lay a wire on the outside, and slip the wrap on loom around it and tape it up, because I don't know, I guess I could cut it off, but I wouldn't even want to depin this to slip another one on. Like, I hate wiring. So, but that's where we're at. So now I can lay it in the car eventually and figure out my length of my pigtail here. That's going to plug into the car. I need to start on that next. And then these little marker light things, I don't even think I'm putting no braided loom around them. I don't know, I might for looks. We'll see when we get to it. I just kind of left them hanging for right now. I guess y'all are probably going to say, come on, man, you got to finish the job. You loomed everything else, at least loom that one. But, yep, that's where we're at.